Yeah, I'm back, just like I said I'd be back. So yeah, I'm back and feeling a little bit better. Still not 100%, but I'm nearly there and I can do videos again. So in this video, we're going to be talking about backup and restores of ETCD because we need to know how to back up our state and restore it, I guess. That's kind of the point of the video, backing it up and restoring. I'm going to stop saying back up and restore now. So yeah, we're going to learn how to do that. We're going to learn how to check the status of it to make sure that everything's okay with the backup, and then we're going to learn how to restore it. It's a really short video because it's a really short task, I guess. Plus, I haven't got the energy to do an awful lot right now. So I'm going to do this one, and then I'll look at doing the upgrading clusters in the next one. So let's get into it. So I'll start with the actual backup and restore of the ETCD clusters. This will be a really short video, as I say, because this is a really quick process. So operating ETCD clusters for Kubernetes is the page we want. This has information on backing up an ETCD cluster, validating it, scaling clusters out if you want to do that, although it's generally not recommended. Read this here for more information, and restoring an ETCD cluster. Now, before we carry on, I just want to say that restoring an ETCD cluster, I'll show you the process of restoring it, but I'm actually going to kill the whole cluster and do a restoration on this because that's a whole video of its own in kind of more the advanced area. But it's good to know how this works. You will be asked to do this, but pretty much in a similar way to what I'm going to show you here. Now, obviously what I'm going to show you isn't light for light because I'm not allowed to tell you the questions, but you will need to know how to take a backup, how to do a restore. That's pretty much all you'll need to know. You won't be asked to restore an entire broken cluster. Well, you might be, but it won't be a case of reinstalling the cluster and then restoring a backup to it, for example. So yeah, again, this is if you're doing the exam. If you're not doing the exam, just use something like Valero for your backups. That'll do the job. But anyway, I digress. This is the page one. I'll leave it in the description as always, and we'll just get started. So I'm going to jump over to my nodes, and over here, I have tmux loaded up, one for the control planes, one for the worker nodes, and one for the ETCD nodes. We're not going to touch the worker nodes or the control plane nodes in this case because they're going to be used in the upgrades. But for the ETCD ones, we're going to need to do this. What can we do here? First thing is upgrade the node. I didn't tell you to do this when we originally set everything up, but make sure you keep these nodes up to date. I'm hoping you've been doing this anyway, but if you haven't, keep these nodes up to date. And I don't mean upgrade kubeadm or Kubernetes. What I mean is the nodes themselves, the packages on the nodes, because I've neglected these nodes. You know, I'm not going to lie. These only get spun up for these tutorials. They're not a proper Kubernetes cluster that I use in any sort of production way. So I kind of just forgot to get this done. I'm not going to lie, but you know, if we do apt update, for example, we're going to see here, I've got like 134 packages, 136 and 72. That's weird. Okay, I'm not quite sure why those packages are different. They're the same. I set these up the same. I'm just not going to worry about that. What we can do though is we can list the upgradables here, and let's take a look. We're going to go through and just have a quick look at some of the packages. It's pretty much just basic stuff really. You know, these sorts of things get updated all the time, and I forgot that it drops me to the bottom when I highlight things on tmux because of the way I've set it up. But we can see here we've got kubeadm, kubectl and kubelet. All three of these are available for an upgrade now to 128 because that has recently been released. And then the rest of them again are just libraries and Python packages and OpenSSH upgrades and things like that. So I'm just going to upgrade. Let's just crack on with that. So I'm going to do apt upgrade, and then we'll get the list of everything. I'm going to click yes and let it run. So I'll just spin to the end of this and see you on the other side. Okay, that's done. Now I'm just going to quickly reboot those machines and we'll be on our way. So let's just reboot those, give them a moment to come back up, and then we'll be straight back. And we're back. So we have updated machines, we have everything up to date. That's great. That's a good start. Now ETCD hasn't been upgraded in this context because that is a separate thing. So for example, kubeadm is obviously there. I could do an upgrade to those, but I'm not going to be covering that in this particular video. I'm going to cover that in the upgrade video. The only other thing that needs upgrading on these machines is ETCD. I'm not going to be doing that in this video. I'm going to be doing that in the next video because this one's about backup and restore. The next video is about upgrading, so I'll do it over there. So we've got our machines up to date. Finally, they are secured again in terms of being on the latest packages. Let's go ahead and look at backup and restoring. If we think about what we did originally when we set these up, just to test to make sure they worked, we had to do etcd commands when we originally set these up because we were looking at the member health and things like that. Maybe you remember that, maybe you don't. But just for the sake of it, I'm going to reverse search. We'll do etcd ctl, and we can see here this previous command we had. So I'm just going to put a little comment at the start of that just to stop it being run and just to make it closer to my recent history, as it were. So for this command to work, we had to specify it was API version 3, we had to pass in certificates, keys, and CA certs. We also had to pass in endpoints, which in this case was host number 2, whatever that was. We set up environment variables originally for this. And then we have member lists. So what I can actually do is just go ahead and do something like 192.168.0.204 and do member list. And there we go. There's all of them there. Now, since this is a distributed key value store, I don't need to back up from all of them. Just one will be fine. So how do we do a backup? Well, we can go and look at the docs, or I can just tell you, or we can do both. So I'm going to jump over to the docs now and take a look here. Now, this will give you a bunch of information on operating ETCD clusters for Kubernetes, but we don't need to worry too much about most of this. What we actually need is things like replacing a failed member. This will tell you how to replace a failed member if you need to. Just literally follow the guide there. It is easy as copy and pasting most of this stuff in, just making sure you put the right values in. We don't need that though. What we need is backing up an ETCD cluster, and it is one command. There is a snapshot system built into ETCD that allows you to just take a snapshot of the cluster as it is. And we're just going to do that. So I'm going to jump back over to here. And what we'll do is we'll bring this previous command back up because we're going to need all these CA certs and everything there. All we need to do is change this member list section. So what we can do is we can do snapshot, and we want to save a snapshot. And what do we want to save? Well, we need a file, and we'll just call it tutorial backup.db. Doesn't have to be a .db file. I just do that from habit really more than anything, because they call it snapshot db on the website, for example. Here, jump back over, we can see here snapshot db, not .db, just snapshot db. That's just the name of the file. I don't want to call it that. I want to call it snapshot.db because that's just my habit. That is literally all it is. It means nothing. Okay. ETCD will be able to read whatever file you put into it as long as it is an ETCD snapshot that has been saved into it. I could call that .text if I wanted to. That's kind of the point I'm making here. Don't do that though. Habits, remember, bad habits. Okay, so we're going to do that. This will go ahead and do it. And that's how quick it is. Look at that. It's just done it straight away. Now, if I take a look, you can see here it says the size was 299. I took a snapshot 1 second ago. And now we've got this tutorial backup.db file here. Good stuff. That's it. We can check the status of that now. So I can just go back to that previous command. And instead of snapshot save, we can do snapshot status. And we also need one other little flag here, which would be write out. I'm just going to check this before I hit enter on it. Just jump back over to the guide over here. I believe it's just table. Yep, write out table. I think you can do different formats here if I remember rightly, but you'll just get this here basically. So if we go ahead and run that, we can say, so it's actually been deprecated. You need this etcd util now. It makes no difference in this case. You're going to get the same result. In fact, do I even have that etcd? I do have etcd util. So there we go. That's it. We've got our hash of it. We've got the revision, total number of keys, and the total size. That's good. So we know there's some data in there, which is really good to know. Finally, we need to know how to restore something. And restoring is as easy as it was backing up. So let's say we've had an issue where some keys have been lost, or there was some data loss that happened. Maybe we lost the underlying storage system that's out on etcd. We've had to bring a new one in. Maybe we've had to rebuild an entire cluster, and we're restoring our snapshot back onto the etcd cluster that now exists. This is something we will do later in another video, but this is not for this video because it's quite advanced stuff. Well, I guess it isn't, but it kind of is. You can have a play with this yourself if you want, obviously, in the meantime. But all we need to do, again, is go back to that command. I'm just going to go to the save one again because it's just one different bit of command. And all I do is delete save and I do restore. And that's it. I change it to restore. I give it my endpoints. I give it all my certificates and everything. I do snapshot restore. The name of the snapshot. We'll do that. Obviously, it's going to error again and tell us we want to be using this. I will look into this and I will do an updated video at some point on this because this is new to me. This is something that's obviously changed recently that I'm not aware of because last time I used this command, it wasn't a problem. So I will take a look into that and I will do another video down the line explaining exactly that. But yeah, etcd util is obviously something it wants to do, but I'm guessing we need to pass certificates in the same way. So yeah, that's it though. There you go. You can see it's added any members, it's restored a snapshot, and the snapshot that's been restored is the one we've done. It's just dumped everything in and that's it. Good stuff. And that's it. That's everything you need to know for now about backing up and restoring the etcd. And I say for now because clearly that etcd util command has come into effect. So I knew it had been released as a thing, but I didn't realize it was taking over etcd-ctl. So I will do another update to this video at some point where we cover that as well, because it's good to have all the information at hand, because I imagine if that's been deprecated, etcd-ctl, then it will become etcd util in the exam. Now, as I've said, you will need to know how to do this in the exam. It's not about, backing up and restoring a broken cluster completely. It's about just knowing how to interact with etcd. You may get asked it on the exam. So just be aware of it, or at least be aware of that documentation there. You can use that. It's fine. It's not a problem. As I've said, you can use the docs. So yeah, that's a good thing to know. The other thing was to pay attention to your updates, because it's important to keep your OS up to date. Now in the real world, we just deploy a new node with an updated image on that has all the updates built in. Then we'd replace the old node with that new node. In this world, with these VMs, in this tutorial context, we can't really do that. I mean, we could do that. I could build another cluster node. I could make sure it's up to date. I could drain the old one out, bring the new one in, and that's fine. But it's just easier in this context to just keep it up to date. It's fine. But, in the real world, we're thinking real world, so I want to give you that information too. So yeah, bring a new image in. Use the image builder project or something like that to build a new image, deploy a new node with that image on, and roll it over. That's it, And we're going to learn about draining nodes in the next video, because we're going to be doing upgrading of the cluster, which requires draining nodes. So we will take a look at that in the next one. Now, once we've done this upgrade, I won't be doing another one because, well, I will be doing another upgrade, but I won't do another video on it. So you'll be responsible for keeping your cluster up to date. All I'll do is let you know when new versions come out, just so you can be on top of it, I guess, unless you already followed that information. But I got an email through from the Kubernetes SIGs the other day that says the next release is going to be December the 5th. So, well, that's their target date anyway. There's no guarantee it's going to be on that date, but that is the target date. So that'll be the 129 release. And when that comes out, I will just update my cluster in the background at some point, and then I'll let you know it's been done, just so you can keep up to date with what I'm doing in the tutorial. So yeah, next video, upgrading the cluster. See you over there.